My longtime friend, former Secret Service agent, the face I'm sure you recognize, the voice I know that you're going to recognize because he has been all over the airwaves at KDK with my colleagues the last couple of days. And I wanted to do the deep dive with him a little bit more time than he was made available on the radio because of time restraints to talk about a number of angles concerning now Tyler Robinson, 22, in custody. Actually was spotted on surveillance video by his father, who's been a member of law enforcement for close to 3 decades. So, John, let's talk about this whole thing that is hate speak and what's happening. And you are a fan of Charlie Kirk, American Turning Point. Many people are. I have found out a whole lot more on my social media platforms that people really were buying in and respected this guy. I have a lot to say. I know you do too. But let's begin. Your thoughts, Charlie Kirk.
Charlie Kirk, I started listening to Charlie just a couple years ago during this movement that he's projected across universities and campuses across the country. And he is a bright, intelligent, high IQ Christian conservative who speaks to science and logic. And he would go out to these college campuses and he would have an open platform. And he would just ask the questions and have people come up and ask questions to him on the microphone, and he would answer them in a dialogue, a respectable dialogue. And he went and he taught these young college-aged kids a little bit more than what they had been basically indoctrinated into from their schools. And you know, some of these the schools that had basically I have to go back to COVID if we start getting too deep into this, but when we were back in the COVID times, you saw a lot of these schools were shut down. Charlie Kirk tried to get into some of these campuses to talk to the kids there, and he was banned from talking at some of these universities. Some of the current universities are having problems right now getting funding from the federal government, and there's a laundry list of them.
But you understand, because of COVID, so many people were isolated. One of the main reasons why we have such issues in this country, because young people, we haven't given them a voice or the ability to debate, which you have to have debate on everything in this country, to where I think the isolation, social media, scrolling, basically answering people via electronic messaging, texting, what have you, we don't know how to talk anymore as we grew up with. And these young people need to have an avenue to do that. And from what I have learned in all of the research and everything that I've looked at with this young man who's been praised by our president, who will be attending his funeral, this guy was teaching young people it's okay to disagree, but you got to speak up. And I think they were embracing it. You could see that crowd in Utah because they feel, hey, somebody's going to give us an opportunity to speak. So I think whether you agreed with this guy or not, he really was doing something positive to get the young people out in front talking issues. And that's the only way America is going to survive for future generations. We have to get these young people involved.
That's right. It was dialogue that he believed in. He did not believe in violence. And he said that in a number of his different university campus speeches. But you have to start with dialogue. And that's what he taught them through example, leadership by example. And he did that, and he did that very well. And not only college kids, but he would invite their professors up to the microphone as well, and they too would have a voice, and he would debate them. And he's a very smart, intelligent person who dropped out of college to pursue a different career, which is what he does right now, or he did right now. And it's just amazing. And I was just it hurt when I saw that he got shot. When I saw the shot take place, it's virtually unsurvivable. And unfortunately, he's not with us today. But his one voice now is millions of voices. And if you didn't hear him then, you certainly hear him now.
Obviously, he's handled many weapons. He's a Marine at one time in his life, also a member of Secret Service, been out there protecting many of the people in government for a long time, now has his own consulting business. We'll get into that in a little bit. Rave Reviews does incredible work there, the eye in the sky, which I think is the last line of defense now for anybody who is out in public, because we already have the lack of, as far as numbers when it comes to law enforcement at every level. We have no young people stepping up to want to replace those who are retiring. So how can you protect all these people? With what he does, I believe is the only way, and we'll get to that in just a bit. But talk about the weapon that was used and basically why it's such a deadly weapon and why he was able to achieve what he was able to achieve from such a distance. Go ahead.
Yes, we had a long conversation about this and whether it was an AR or some other type of weapon, and it turned out to be a 30-06, which is what I'd actually talked to one of your colleagues about this morning on the radio, Larry Richards. And 30-06 bolt action, very common weapon used right here in western Pennsylvania for
deer hunting, right?
So it's a very common weapon. The shot that he took was a relatively basic, simple, short distance shot to the point where 200 yards away, Trump was shot at about 150 yards away, roughly speaking. And this guy was in the prone position as well as the assassinate, the potential assassin at the Trump rally. But from 200 yards, that's where the Marine Corps begins their distance, their known distance shooting. Then they elevate it back to 300 and then down to 500. But it's such a simple, basic shot at 200 yards that in the Marine Corps, we have to do it in an offhand position, which is standing up and in this position here,
right,
as opposed to the position where this suspect was put in where he was in the prone position. We don't get to the prone position until we're back at 500 yards because that's the most stable, steady platform in which to shoot a weapon. You'll see the snipers in, out to 1,000 yards, they're in the prone position. It's very difficult to shoot in an offhand position. You're swaying, your center of gravity's off. But the shot was a very simple shot. It wasn't that complicated to the point where, given someone who's never picked up a weapon, I could train them to make that shot in 1 day period. A 200-yard shot. It's not that difficult. But a 30-06 is going to put someone down. It puts a deer down. That's why the choice weapon is. And that's a bigger caliber of weapon than the 5.56 millimeter, which is also the 203, which is used in it's a NATO round that's used in war and combat. It's a simple rifleman round, which is the smallest caliber, and you figure this 308 is a much larger caliber than 5.56. And yes, for it to penetrate his neck, the wind velocity and things like that out to 200 yards aren't going to make a big difference.
All right, we're going to come back. We got much more, so stay tuned for part 2 of a 3-part session with John Hudson. Back with more in a moment.